Good morning, hope you all are doing well today. Welcome back to the channel. We're going to be taking a look at Firesworn and we're going to be doing a crazy big swarm today, and I'm hoping that if we bring this archetype back today, it's going to be viable in the meta that we have right now, given that there's a lot less control, a lot more greed than the past meta that we had. I tried it about a month ago and it wasn't really working out too well, even though it's one of my favorite Syndicate archetypes, so we'll go through it here today. And off the bat, I think that it's good. I think it has some exceptional cards. I think it generates a lot of points, but the main problem that this deck has is the lack of control. And with devotion being so prevalent here, we need to have devotion for the Ulrich, we need to have devotion for the Horson, we need devotion for Jacques to really get the second payoff, we need devotion for cards like the Mutants Maker. There's a lot that revolves around devotion, and we can't be going and throwing in heat waves and things like that. And I experimented a little bit with a non-devotion version, but it felt like a lost cause, so I went back to the tried true devotion way, and we just have to settle for the fact that we don't have a lot of control. Now, I wanted to kind of beef up the control a little bit with the Horson Senior, spawning the lackeys, playing a ton of crimes, having a little bit more control with cards like Payday and just lackey pings and Horson Jr., but this might not be enough for certain matchups. There are certain times where you want to have just that tall removal, that big reset, and things that we don't have access to. So I might experiment again at some time with non-devotion, but we'll go through the list here for the devotion one. We have Jacques being a huge contributor to this. So in round 3, we're able to profit 4, we spawn 2 Flaming Rose Footmen, and then whenever we play a Firesworn card, we gain a coin. So that's going to synergize exceptionally well with cards like the Fallen Knight that benefit from when we're spawning units. We're going to get the feedback from that there. We're going to be able to get more coins every turn to put in our spenders, like the Eternal Fire Disciple and the Grand Inquisitor Helvi, to help get more spawns on the board for the Fallen Knights. So you see the trend there, and that's pretty well it. And then we have Hemmelfart. So this card is incredible as well. This is one of my favorite new additions when 9.6 dropped. I think that this card is definitely A tier. It's really up there. It profits 4, spawns Congregation, we're getting extra spawn, but the real cool part about it is that we're able to take cards back from our grave, so we don't have to worry about the Fallen Knights getting answered in round 1. We can play all of them, we can play all the clerics and a lot of our good bronzes and bring them back later on in round 3. So it makes a huge difference for that. It gives us 2 solid rounds of playing and keeps tempo with what we're seeing from a lot of the current decks in the meta right now. So this feels auto-include whenever you're playing Firesworn. And Ulrich is just huge. It's an Intimidate engine. We're playing a lot of crimes, so Intimidates, whenever you play a crime card, it's going to be boosting this unit by 1. This is also great because cards like the Horson Senior have Intimidate and the Fallen Knights have Intimidate, so there's a lot that goes around that archetype as well within this deck. We're going to be making a copy of probably one of 2 cards here. If we have a Fallen Knight, that's the preferred option. The alternative would be the Cleric of the Flaming Rose. I think that those are great. We have a couple backups if we're desperate, but honestly, I wouldn't go for those if I could avoid it. And that's that. It's going to get tons of value throughout the round, and it's just really good tempo, even to start round 1. I don't mind playing this in round 1 because we can bring them all back in round 3 with Hemmelfart, but in the old version of the deck, I'd probably want to save Ulrich for round 3, which made our round 1 play kind of awkward. So moving on to Helvi, probably one of the best spenders for Syndicate in my opinion. It's really effective in just getting a bunch of points at a bunch of units on the board as quick as possible. 6 base power, profits 4, Fiat 2, spawns Fireswarm Zealot. There's no turn cap, so if you have coins you can afford it and you have space to do it, you can spawn whatever you like. So that makes a big difference in helping us get our board state ready for a big swarm payoff like the Sacred Flame or the Disarray. So you want to save this card if you can. There's certain times where you might want to play it early to win round 1 when you need to really push, but more than likely you'll be saving that for round 3 and you'll be playing your crimes that spawn like the Congregations and things like that in early game. So that's that there. Again, Horson Jr. just added for the control. I feel like we need to have at least 1 engine removal. This is going to help with that here, giving us a reach of 9 for removal. So pretty much what it is. You can put this in pretty well any Syndicate deck that's devotion, and it finds its place. I think it's very well priced here, so we have it. Now, Vivaldi Bank, not my preferred choice for drawing right now, but it is something definitely. The deck does focus or lack consistency, so we need a couple things to pull cards. We have a Valdi Bank here. It's going to be able to look down in our deck and find the card that we're looking for. We often don't have a lot of coins, so it's a little bit of a gamble. I had to back that up with a couple more supporting cards like Furco and Excommunication that are also going to be looking for cards within our deck, because I didn't want to go and spend our sweet 5-6 provision spot on thinning packages. I just felt like we needed to go for the most points possible, considering that this is an off-meta deck and we have to compete with some pretty greedy decks, so we have to be a little bit greedy for ourselves here. I've been finding overall we've been drawing most of our golds in the games that you'll see today, so don't worry too much about that. Just take discipline mulligans, and sometimes when you pull into something early, don't let it go. If you pull into a Jacques round 1, maybe you can dump it back, but if you pull into like a Hemelfart or Ulrich or Helvied round 1, maybe you hold on to that, right? Maybe you just don't want to put that back because you might not see it again. So those are those things. And we talked about Fallen Knights, a little bit more control here. I beefed up the Bronze End with some good supporting crime cards. So we have Congregation, we have Smuggle, we have the Paydays, and if you look at the crime count here, we've got 2, 4, 5, 6, there's 7. So quite a few crimes to proc the Intimidate status, and just made a lot of sense here. No room for a Gourd. I think that would be a different type of deck, maybe a bit less units, maybe not a Swarm, but it's heading in that direction. Certainly lots of crimes in this deck here. And Lonely Champion, you're probably looking at this like, why does he have this in the deck? So this card is immunity, and it destroys all Firesworn tokens on the row and boosts self by the sum of their power. I don't like this card, generally speaking, but it makes some sense in the meta right now, because it's the only card that I could think of that would give you a shot at all against like Kelly, for example, because this is going to help sort of close that gap when we look at the card contrast between their side of the board and our side of the board. So Lonely Champion is for that matchup, and also it's just for in the event that we need to clear real estate so that we can make more room for spawning cards. So I didn't think 2 was great. I felt a little bit guilty playing 1, but it has merit here. You'll see me often in the games today tuck this back if I don't think that it's necessary. Worst case scenario, you have a mutant on a 4-power unit, so it's not too bad. We've got some really good profit here for the Mutants Maker. Not a lot of profit cards, so you want to have these when you're looking to spend coin. Maybe play it before you take the Tribute with the Horse and Senior. Maybe play it before you get the Inquisitor Helvied down, and so forth. But we're not really cycling too many coins in this deck. Most of what we're using that spends coins also profits itself, right? These profit, profits, and those are our main spenders. So we don't have too much of a problem with coin circulation, and if you're new to playing Syndicate, this is a little bit easier to manage for those reasons there. It doesn't revolve strictly around the coin. But we'll go through some games today. I've got 4 or 5 games for you guys. I don't remember quite how many I have, but you'll see my experiences for today. I think the deck is good. I think it'll get you to pro rank. I just think that if you're playing what's being promoted right now within the community, a lot of these I don't want to say toxic decks, but just like harder to play against, more binary decks that, you know, they play Kelly, and if you can't answer to Kelly, you lose. Like those type of matchups, you might have some problem here because we don't have the answers to everything. But let's get into the video, and I was excited to play something a little bit different today, and I'm glad about that. If you guys have any ideas for the next video, let me know in the comments below, and help me out. We're about to hit 4K subs, and it would be appreciated if we can push this milestone before the end of January. I know it's possible. With your support, we can make it happen. So let's get into the games. Alright, and for the first game we have Tactical Decision by Nilfgaard, and just a heads up guys, if you hear any sort of like clinging in the background here and there, it's because I got a crisp energy drink, orange creamsicle flavor, in like 8 ice cubes right now, so every time I take a sip it's going to be super loud. Go ahead, tuck back lonely, and then I want a hand that we can work with. I don't know what we're playing against. Payday's probably it. I'm thinking it's either Hyperthin or Colgrim or Mill or both. And sure enough, they go in the Mill's first turn. So we want to do what we normally do when we play this matchup, and that's just basically try and go for that 2-0. Don't allow a round 3, and it doesn't really matter if we get milled. Fortunately, we have a lot of the good cards that we need in order to win the game in our hand. The only thing I'm really kind of concerned about would be maybe the Helveed, maybe the Hemmelfart, but I do think that it's possibly winnable without those two conditions. I wasn't expecting the assassination there. I was just thinking that we'd get away with playing that on an empty board state, but either way, we kind of have to just go ahead and play here.
Ever faithful to the flaming rose.
We have really inexpensive ways of filling the board in hand. You look at cards like Congregation, you look at cards like the Cleric. We have a couple payoffs here as well. I actually don't mind them milling excommunication because we don't really want to have XCOM if we're playing mill, because it could play for negative points. We'd have to just put it in the bin basically. That's a pretty good hit. I think Mill might be one of the decks that you guys never see me play. I honestly don't think I have much interest in playing it. It just depends on too much luck and promotes such a toxic way to play cards. They're getting out a lot of our good cards, but fortunately Ulrich does have the engine tag with the Intimidate. So we can just go ahead and get that there. Now, I might take Fur Coat anyways in this round. Because we can get a pretty good swarm going if we grab like another one. Kind of want to have some coin though. Just a little carryover. Also, we could flip some of those tokens if we need to. But I think that we should have enough here to win the round. So I guess they kind of see the play. I'm just diving for this here because I can. And I was thinking about taking Helveed there, but we know that it's going to overprofit quite a bit. So going for a Fallen Knight should just be fine here. You get an extra few points off it from the Sacred Flame. And then when we play the Disarray, I don't mind playing this here. I really do wish that they gave this card a location resilience tag, because oftentimes the opponent will pass on it, and I consider it quite a big win condition here. Now, I'm not going to remove Colgrim, because even if they take a Letho, they're not getting ahead. So I think we just win the game now, unless they're playing Renew. We want a 2-0 hand, so I want to see points. These 3 cards are kind of what we want to see. How much payoff we're going to get from that, I don't know. I think Hemmelfart's just better here. We dive in there, we take a Fallen Knight before we start spawning like crazy. I know they have Assassination now, so we could play around it a little bit. I don't think we have to spawn more because we can get another one next turn. I don't mind. 3-point yen. Some damage has already been done. We play this here first because we want to have the most turns of being able to spend our coin, because that's the only spender we have access to right now. Hopefully we pull into something we can use. That's not all bad. We're trading quite effectively because they did use the Yan Calviet, so I know that what they're going to be playing is going to be good cards. Another one of the reasons why I think Mill's not very good is because, with exception to Calviet, a lot of the points like are generated in Nilfgaard by their ability to thin and stuff like that. So they often find themselves losing on even early because they're playing really slow tempo plays. So if Mill doesn't get red coin, I think they're in trouble. And I don't even know if we care too much about the Helveed, but I just don't want them to have any sort of ability to get profit and play from there. I was thinking about maybe killing off a 2, but we don't really want to use the Insanity, I don't think. And they probably think disarray, but it's not. And it doesn't even have to be. There's no way that they get ahead here. Even if they brought back Colgrim, it's nowhere near enough. We'll just go and play everything we've got here. Even if they take this out, anything, like even if it brought out 0, we'd still be fine. So there you have that. Moving on to the next game here. I thought this was a really cool deck. I spoke to you after the game and it was awesome to see something like this. I've been really interested in playing the double Maddock type decks for some time. I have to say though, going into this game, I was expecting a couple different things. Something similar to that of my Imposter with Vachier and Vilgefortz and Damien, like that type of thing. Or Imposter Ball. And this surprised me quite a bit. So I'm playing a little bit slow here, trying to get some information. There go the ice cubes.
The eternal fire shall consume all that is impure.
And at that point you know, but there's not really much we can do here. The Maddock's getting copied and we just have to kind of play on. Onero into Letho.
I'm coming for you.
I decide to Chala a little bit here. I think that they're just going to get removed. And it's pretty cool because those Magnis, they don't care if they have cards on the roll and they're bonded anymore. So that's actually really cool. Because the Maddox would ruin that pretty quick. It's crazy to think that Magni used to be like a staple card in like just about every ball deck, even though it was so easy to play around as soon as something else goes on that row. And so I'm just playing cards here. We want to get some crimes down while the Intimidate tags are still alive. And I think I want to take this round here because round control feels important to me when I don't know what I'm playing against. So one easy take on getting that would be Hemmelfart. I don't love it, but it's actually an option here. Really good pass from the opponent, but I think it's necessary that we keep playing.
The eternal gold shines brightest in the presence of fire. You stink of heresy.
Now in a situation like this, it kind of comes down to what we draw will determine what we play. We have a decent hand here. Actually, that's a pretty good hand. Missing a couple things. I don't know if we have 2-0 without a Fallen Knight. Halbeat's kind of nice though. We're going to be tutoring the fur cart, or the Desiree with the Furco. Decided here long rounds where we do best. I didn't see any gold cards, so I don't really know exactly what's going on. Okay, so at least they didn't get Fallen Knights engraved. That's really important for me because they can manipulate our strategy quite well and get tons of points in round 3 if we were to set that up. We pull into 1, that's nice. I don't think we need Lonely Champ. Put that back. I don't mind Furco into access for a payday. I think we have enough spawning, so the Disciple's not really what I'd like to have here.
I still hope they'll paint a picture.
And they got a really good Renegade. Like game-changing Renegade.
If we're to murder and
So
pillage
big
the
props.
then
That was
so be
nice.
what we demand. Not harm a hair on your wench's head.
It's funny because, and I'm not saying you specifically, I'm just saying matchups in general. Before Renegade got the 2 base power buff, everybody thought Renegade was so bad. I gave it a chance, I kind of liked it. But now 2 extra base power and everybody's playing Renegade. I believe in that card. I think that card has good potential. So I know what they're doing. And we want to play around like a Red Haze or a Tavern Brawl. Because when you're hitting down that middle unit, I've seen this too many times. I've been hurt by this. And yeah, and when they use the bomb on the 1, I know exactly what's going on here. We got to keep stuffing units back there. Maybe put something like the Cleric.
Heartbroken These are the words of scripture.
Just keep the coin. We have ways to spend it. And if I can avoid the Cataclysm, all the better. If we have to play into it a little bit, at least we can flip the tokens that get injured by the Cataclysm, so that works out as well. It kind of takes away some of the value from the Maddox. Man, I like this deck they're playing. I just don't know if I'd do Sunset and Oniro. I usually pick one. With Nilfgaard having Calviet, it might be able to assist with drawing into the golds. Maybe save some provisions. And I think we just clean up these. Ooh, I don't want even more pings. And I decide that offensive spending is probably better, because who knows if they're throwing in a random Igni or something, or really trying to get this separation in the back row. We'll jam another card here. It's pretty much the last one we can put, because I can't put Helvete there and I can't put Furco there. So if they can get through this 3, then they're going to be able to do what they're looking to do with it. And they get it done. I like that. I thought that was great. Persistence breaks down resistance, right? Sales 101. So one thing here, keep in mind, it's often something that it's not at the forefront of my head, but when you play a Firesworn unit, Jacques will gain a coin. So you want to click in that situation so that we don't overprofit the 1. And I'm fully aware it was something that I just realized right after I played, you know.
Now this is a knife.
Now, I have to maybe take a payday. Just because I know they're playing Hemmelfart, that could be pretty bad. We just take the coin, spend it somewhere else. Works out pretty well. And Hemmelfart, I think that should just still be a win here. Would have been nice if we had the cleric for sure, but it's fine. And I wish we had a little bit more space on the back row. If we had one more space, probably would have taken Sacred Flame back row. But I don't think it matters here. They're going to go up to, yeah, give or take 64, 5, 6. A couple ones there. There we go. Yeah, that should just be enough here. We got full boost, and then we have these array. And, you know, it's a good game. Now, moving on to the next one here. I think Firesworn has a difficult problem. Like, it's very difficult to play against other Syndicate decks right now. Especially the ones that are Devotion, because the Horson Freak Show and the Horson Junior specifically are really bad for our matchup here. Because if they can eliminate the Swarm, then we don't get the payoff, so we have a lot of cards that are doing nothing. I had a very difficult time playtesting previous versions of this deck against Jackpot and stuff like that. So if you're queuing a lot of Jackpot, you gotta be careful. It just feels like a game we will win if they mess up. If they play well, we usually shouldn't win that matchup. Like, look at this. It's probably one of the best Horse and Juniors I've ever seen. You got rid of 2 Intimidate engines, one of which would have gotten to 20 points. Arguably like a 30-point Horse and Junior. I'm just so glad that they went first. Really? Otherwise we'd be in so much trouble. And for what it's worth, I don't anticipate that they're going to let me win this round. And I don't think that I'm going to try and contest it all too seriously. So I just want to see some commitments from them. And I think that might be the strategy. Is just now we can go and we can play some bronze specials. And we can try and maybe get some coin carryover, or just spawn a couple little tokens, just mild stuff, you know? And it's been a while since I've seen it, but I respect the courage. Having the 2 thin packages never worked out for me quite well. The Raiders and the Bouncers, I always found it to be quite troublesome. I would brick one of 2 or both, really. But you see what I mean? The Fallen Knights are really helping us stay in the round at not much expense. I don't mind spending them early because we have the access to get them back with Hemmelfart. If I was playing this 9.5 and earlier, then I would probably feel like I'm throwing, because those were like the win conditions back in the day for Firesworn. So I want to play so that if they do pass, then I have, you know, whatever I need here to be able to actually take the round. And I'm keeping tabs on that because we just don't want we don't want them to call a bluff and pass and we can't do anything. So put bleeding on it, so we could flip that. A lot of people don't expect the senior, which is really cool. So like I said, continuing to keep tabs on what we're doing here. And I don't want to spend any leader charges this round, but if I do have to spend one, I don't mind just spending one. I think having multiple leader charges spent here is a little expensive. Hopefully they put some bleeding on the other one as well. Pretty sure they did here. Now we can just get our flip, get the points back. Kind of like they wasted some coin, which is really cool. And if you look at the board state here, we have basically 3 cards with Intimidate. And then the other 2 cards, since they're bonded, are doing 2 damage to a random enemy when we play a crime. So if I play a crime next turn, we're getting the value of the crime +3, +4, which is actually crazy. And if the crime spawns cards, then you even get the boost with the Fallen Knights. So This is a very nasty board state, and if they don't respect it, then they're definitely going to lose, because we got a perfect situation going on right now. A little bit later in the round that I would have liked it to be, but I think if it was any other matchup, it would be a little bit quicker to get that board state. And we just dumped Disarray there because it'll get us ahead. We don't have to spend something like Vivaldi Bank here. Whenever I see a Furco draw, I figure we can tuck the Disarray back, because Disarray in hand makes it so that pushing feels very uncomfortable. We can't push though, because I didn't pull the major push conditions here, like Hemelfart or Helvide or even Jacques. Those would be really good cards to say, alright, maybe we push. But with a Syndicate matchup, we know that they have a lot of the similar, or same even, you know, a lot of them will run Jacques and stuff like that, so they can match the tempo that we have, and they have the extra cards, so it's not always the best idea to push. Seeing Graydon on a pass feels really good. In this matchup though, the Graydon's not going to get a whole lot of value because they can't give bounty to Fallen Knights unless they were to Purified first. And everything else is pretty well spent. Like, I mean, not too tall. Maybe Helvide would be the tallest they have access to. So I like most of the hand. There's really those 3 cards we want. Now we have access with XCOM and Bank. So we're getting a couple of them here. We drew into Disarray, so now we can just focus on getting those 2, and then we can just Furco into maybe a Payday or something like that, whatever we might need.
Perhaps a different ingredient. An active one.
And I'm trying to decide here if I want to take XCOM turn 1. Because it would be kind of nice to pull out the Jacques, right? Plus I don't have any coins and we have to dig 10 down. So it's going to take a little bit of a high roll, but I think we need to. Just because I want to have a good board state here. And honestly, this is probably the best roll we can have. Now we can start working on getting some value here from the Fallen Knights. Click. And I think that might have been most of our luck. I don't know if we're going to have access to pull out the Jacques, but that's ultimately what we have to aim for. And this just makes it impossible. You see what I mean though, playing in the Syndicate, is that they have the access to just go and do all this in one turn. This is why I think Firesworn just kind of sits in the back. It isn't the top SY deck. But at least we have an answer to it. Payday would have been fine too, but I think I like the flexibility a little bit better. Now, seeing that come down, I kind of wish I went in for Payday on the Freak Show so we could take that out, but either way is fine. We'll just focus on the Swarm at this point. Was really upset I didn't get the Jacques there. I was actually expecting to. I'm thinking that we're going to run into a problem where we have a lot of coin, but we don't have anything to spend it with. So I want to have a second spender there. Yeah, bad roll. I don't think it should cost us though. If they can't pull into some good spenders, then they're in trouble as well. And if they had to go and fetch that one, that tells me that they probably don't have one in hand. So if I can remove it, we're good. And this is Devotion Bounty. If you guys are curious to see a non-Devotion bounty list without King of Eggers, just a solid bounty list, I posted a deck a couple days ago. It's a jackpot bounty list. Definitely go check that one out. I play tested for like 4 or 5 hours to get the perfect recipe. And, you know, I think it was yesterday I posted that actually. So Professor comes down. Again, I think they're finished with the spending here. And I want to spend as much as I can, because we might lose that chance here. I'm expecting Halvid to maybe get answered in this turn by something, at least. Whether it's a Philippa or whether it's putting bounty and killing it off, who knows. Marils could be a thing as well. And they just didn't have the points. I guess they knew what we had for the last 2 cards and they just said, oh, we can't compete with that. Now, moving on to the last game of the day, we have Shield Wall. And this one was Mages. I like to prioritize, I find Inspired Zeal Mages are the most comfortable for me. But there's definitely greedier versions with Shield Wall and Pincer Maneuver and all types of sorts like that. This matchup's going to be very difficult for us because we don't have the answer to shields. We don't have anything to ping off a shield and then remove it. We only have the one payday and then the randomized pings that we get. So I'm coming into this one not super excited.
Perhaps a different ingredient. An active one.
I think the best thing to do on red coin in this matchup against mages is probably just leave the round early. Hope that they play a couple good cards and hope that they don't get a lot of carryover. So seeing Rafford's Vengeance and Defender come down right away is nice for me to see. You'll see here, I don't think I even spend the coin. I'm just collecting and leaving, basically. See the student come down. They're going to drop that on range row to protect it. Smart enough. They should have put that on the other side to get the random damage. The other side of Rafford's. So they lost the 2 points there. And seeing something like that tells me that maybe the opponent's not as experienced with mages. So I get a little bit of confidence here. But we're down to 7. We want them to play to 6, and we go for that pass. More than likely, depending on what they play here, we might play one more card. Again, you got to put that to the side of Rafford's. I'm just trying to show them here. And I'll take a pass. What's nice is that they didn't get both mages, they only got the one. So they're not going to have the zeal on the alumni, and maybe we can answer one of them. Maybe we can answer 2 of them. Depends on how many of them have shields, really. So they're going to opt to go for this. Now, in this situation here, I'm pretty sure that they pass with 5. But I think if you're just going to go ahead and do that, you probably just want to play down to 4 just to get the extra carryover and take it to a longer round 3 for the payoff. But I'm pretty sure they pass here and they go for the bleed. So I'm fully anticipating that they probably just play to 7 and pass here.
How did I fare, Mistress Letitia? Well this time, yes?
I don't want to play Ulrich just yet.
Give what we demand, and will not harm a hair on your wench's head.
So we'll play one Fallen Knight. If they keep pushing, then I want to protect the card. So then we might play Ulrich into the Nether Fallen Knight to get that extra value from the Fallen Knights, because it'll spawn another, like it'll spawn, so it'll give boost to the one that's on the board already.
The day is nigh when all shall behold my beauty.
Yeah, they're using leader charges here and everything. They got Shanny down. We know what's going on. We have to play. Have to play strong here.
We have fallen.
And I don't click leader and go all crazy, because we're still going to be ahead if they pass. Letitia comes down, shield on it as well. Again, they know we don't have answers to these things, so I think they're just trying to abuse that. And I just tuck it there because it's pretty satisfying to watch the ascending points, 6, 7, 8. It'll just stay like that for the rest of the game. Play the second charge so we stay ahead. Otherwise we'd be tied there, I believe. The 3 plus the 2, yeah. And what's really nice here is we're going to get crazy payoff off some low-end 4 provision bronzes. So the congregations are going to come down. They're going to get 4 points from the Intimidate that we have with the 4 cards on the back row, plus the 6 points that the card plays for itself, and then also the points for the spawning. So it's pretty nuts. I want to set up shop here though, and I want to catch them, so they're never getting their cards back. I decided in my head that they're just staying 2 cards down. So the Sacred Flames coming down here, then we can sort of play the congregations one by one. I'm afraid to look at how many points they're getting on that back row. I think when it was all said and done, the patience was up to like 10 on some of these, which was crazy.
We saw their cities, delicate as if woven from the morning mist. The fire cannot burn without the proper.
We do hold a pretty comfortable lead of 20 points, plus we're sitting on points. I know they're sitting on points as well. But we have a really good payoff, so we have 2 huge payoffs.
I hope we can trust you.
I guess that was a little bit of a late lock here. We still got some value from it, so... So I'm just showing you guys they clicked, and the patience is crazy. They roll a dead man's tongue. So now we know that they're going to be pulling into the cards they need for around 3. But what's nice is that they're really going for it, and they're just not finding the points. Let's say they find 20 points off of using the order this turn on the back row. Well, it still barely puts them ahead when they play the card. So we're defending this 2-card advantage quite well. And at some point, I guess now would be the case, they gotta decide that's enough. Yeah, huge numbers. And we top deck like a champ too. We have pretty much everything we need here. I don't even know if we have to go into the play with the crimes and the Horson Senior in this matchup. It doesn't seem like we need to. Maybe just pull that. I'm thinking Payday is probably our Furco because they can't give a shield to everything. So we might get like a really good Payday here. Always Jacques down when you got him first because that extra coin value. We have a couple Firesworn cards in hand, so it makes a pretty big difference.
There are things in the universe of which even the sages have not read. A privilege, an honor.
Ridiculous.
The fire cleanses. Gold shines brightest in the presence of fire.
Start taking these win conditions back here.
Confiscate these goods.
They're not going to get a whole lot of value, but we are still getting those 2 points extra when we bring that back, plus whatever we come up with from spawning. But they should just... okay. They opt to go for the Himmelfart first. Now, I dive in and I take this out right away because I know that they can use casting contest. And even though it sucks that we have to spend our coin to get rid of a 1, it can play for so much more if they just keep resetting that. And if they hit it once, then we don't have a second shot. So if they have 2 casting contests in hand, we're in trouble. I'd rather them just boost and do their own thing while we do our own thing, opposed to them trying to remove cards like my Fallen Knight, my Jacques, etc. That's a very slow tempo play. I think they were looking to high roll the alumni there, which is fine.
The eternal fire shall consume all that is impure.
Remove his cowl, then his ears.
And for no reason, I just wanted to take the leader there. So it doesn't have a strong order, so that's not too big of a threat here. They have 1 more card, so even if it's an alumni, we win the game. I think we just XCOM here, look for something good. Helvede's pretty good. Wasn't expecting to pull Helvede though at first. I should have spent down a little bit more. I'm just letting you guys know that. But for what it's worth, it doesn't even matter. Like, they won't reach the points that we have when they play the rest of what they have. So, we just win either way. I want to thank you guys for watching the video. I'll be doing another one tomorrow. We'll see you then at 8 AM Eastern Daylight Time.